don't know if like skateboarding became its own identity. It was just such a natural progression. It just exploded in my head. Like, this is a world that looks so cool. There was music that you've never heard, and there was people cheering for you. I mean, the world became bigger.
And try not to sleep. The sky is swollen and there's nowhere to hide.
Skateboarding was everything. Discovering new places, and then once we saw surfing, it was hand in hand. I don't remember when I first saw surfing. It was just kind of always there. There was no going back. Those early years just felt really safe. I remember my parents were heavily involved with church and going, and my mom would always have these like arts and craft nights and houses for barbecues. And one time we came home, my parents told us they got a new house. Like, we knew they were looking in like Dana Point or something, close to the water. We were all excited. They hopped on the Ortega and just kept driving, and we were like, where are you taking us? Our hearts totally broke. And I remember like honestly wanting to run away. I went to Murrieta Valley High School, and it was hard fitting in out there. We never went to church out there or really talked about godly things together. And oftentimes there was a lot of anger, and it just felt unsafe all of a sudden. I graduated in 2005, and I was so committed to snowboarding that I just moved up to Big Bear. After the season was done, I came back to my parents' house, and I just knew I had to get out. I just moved back to Orange County. Like, I wasn't really concerned about what tomorrow was gonna look like. Just crash wherever. Like, as long as there's weed in the bong, you're all good. I had a little bit of flow going on from some brands. That's really when I started getting injured, tearing my knee apart and like breaking my leg. And so I was out for 2 seasons. And in snowboarding, I mean, that's a long time. A team manager pulled me aside and was like, hey, let's talk about your future. And that's when they brought me on to working for 32 and Etnies at Soltech. The Lord is getting my attention early on, because we'd be at the skate park and there would be like church kids there like handing out water. We were stoned and hungry and bumming on my grandma's couch, and we were like, where are we gonna get food? We don't have any money. And that's where I remember like the church kids. I called my friend Jason and I asked him like, hey, where did our parents go to church, or where do your parents go to church? And so we went, and sure enough, like those church kids were there. People who knew my mom and dad, people who knew my face, like knew us when we were in those good years, were there. And so it was kind of embarrassing showing up and just grazing on all the food. We didn't want to be rude, so when the service started, we like walked in too. I mean, whatever, like what's it gonna hurt us, like we don't think it's real anyway, so we might as well just go in and the food will still be here when we get back. We sat through it, and we did that a couple times. We were at least going to church, and people had to have known we're on drugs. They were just happy we were there. I would be on the road and trying to read my Bible. I was like traveling with my Bible at this point, but man, when it showed up and it was time to party and entertain, like that's what I did. So there really wasn't a transformation just yet. At that point, my wife was about to give birth, and I just remember, that change happened, and I couldn't deny it any longer. The chains were starting to be broken. Who I was before was someone with a lot of passion, but no direction. And so I was just going day to day. I had to leave that stuff behind. I know who I am in Christ, and my value comes from who God says I am. We aren't mistakes. Nothing's by accident. We're all here for a purpose. So I launched this program called Vert. From ground one, it was to glorify the King of Kings. I knew that if I was going to maintain anything or start anything, it had to be God first. It is a surf and skate coaching program. It is structured like a traditional sport, that it would have practices, that they can measure progression. Mentorship is everything. Who you think is cool is going to really form the rest of your young adulthood. So being that guy for these kids who can talk their language and still surf and skate and be in it for them, but only builds their character, and what a fulfilled life. And so I'm so grateful that the Lord has worked in me. He's been patient, and I just want kids to know that to carry out your purpose is the most radical thing you can do, and it's the most fulfilling feeling that you can have.